So whose is bigger, LeBron's or Savannah's?
What?
Okay, so this is rather interesting, and I just want to jump straight into it. So it feels like for the past year, 2, or even 3 years, you got all these people trying to predict where Bronny James is going to go to college. Everybody at first was saying, oh, he's going to go to Duke, and now you got people trying to say he's going to go to Ohio State. I've heard Texas being thrown into it, and all kinds of schools. And I get it, I really do. Nowadays, everybody's trying to be the first to report on stuff, and it's Bronny James. He's just a trending topic. I'm not doing no intro, by the way. If you like basketball content, we would love to have you part of the channel. It is free to subscribe and it helps us out tremendously. Anyways, like I was saying, the 5 schools that I've seen rumored around and everybody's talking about is UCLA, kind of makes sense, Ohio State, makes a lot of sense, Michigan, USC, and Oregon, and I've also seen Duke and Texas. The Duke one's been going on the past 3 or 4 years because that's just a top program. I don't have to explain that. And then Texas, they can offer the most money when it comes to name, image, and likeness. However, with that being said, the top 5 schools that have been talked about the past week is these 5 schools I'm showing you right here. All of these kind of make sense. I'm not too sure where this Michigan came from. I don't even know how you can make a legit argument for it. But for UCLA, you could say, well, it's on the West Coast. They could offer a lot of money. Ohio State, that's the hometown, and USC could also offer a lot of money, and they're on the West Coast. Like I was saying with the Michigan one, I have no idea where that came from. I just think somebody was bored and said, hey, you know what? Let's just throw them into the mix. And the reason I say that, and I'm not even trying to be funny with it, is because it's exactly what happened. Oh yeah, and I know what you're sitting there saying, yo, Matt, you forgot a school. What about Oregon? And guess what? I didn't forget about them. We're about to talk about them right now. So some information got leaked yesterday that apparently Oregon is in the new lead to land Bronny, and they're the front runners. Quote unquote, it states right here, speaking with sources close to the situation, the ties to Oregon are deep. ... Sources tell us at this point Oregon has a huge lead and that James will end up in Eugene. Oh, I'm sorry I'm laughing, but if you believe that for 1 second, I think you're an idiot. What even is the source? I think the source that came out with this first is On3 Sports or 1-3, however you want to say it. The only, and I mean the legit only reason why everybody's saying he has a chance or he would even consider going there and why Oregon is in the quote-unquote lead is because LeBron has a deal at Nike. And everybody's trying to say, well, oh, if Bronny goes to Oregon, they can offer him a ton of that name, image, and likeness money. Okay, I get what you're trying to say, but here's my counter argument to that. LeBron is technically a billionaire. Do you really think Bronny and LeBron are concerned about money? No, they are concerned with player development. The last, and I mean probably the last thing on Bronny, Bryce's, and LeBron's mind right now is trying to get name, image, and likeness money. They are to the point where in this quote-unquote matrix where money doesn't mean anything to them nowadays. Money is not even a concern for the James family at this point. When I first saw that on Twitter, I think I just saw it on my Explore page. I was like, oh, here we go, another Bronny rumor. This happens every couple of months. It seems like 1 month he's going to Duke, and the next month he's going to Texas. The next month he's going to Oregon, or blah, 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 blah. You get the point. And then, oh yeah, eventually you're going to have those people saying, oh, well, he's going to skip college and go to the G League, or he's going to go overseas. We've seen this story before, but with that being said, what we haven't seen before is LeBron actually shutting down all these rumors. LeBron James addressed the rumors, and he didn't just address them, he put a stop to them. He quote tweeted one of the tweets saying that Bronny was going to go to Oregon, and LeBron stated he hasn't taken one visit yet and he's only had a few calls with coaches and universities. When Bronny makes his choice, you'll hear from him, #JamesGang. There we go right there, and I'm glad that LeBron has actually stepped in and said that so everyone out there can stop believing all these BS rumors. I'm not too sure what it is. I think it's more the fact that I just respect greatness so much. I'm starting to like LeBron every single day more and more and more. I grew up as a diehard Kobe fan, and yeah, you can like Kobe and like LeBron at the same time, but I was just one of those people where I was like, no, Kobe's the greatest of all time, and LeBron, he's behind him. You know how it is. I was one of those type of naive basketball fans where I like Kobe, and if I like Kobe, I couldn't like LeBron. But now that I've gotten older and more mature, and LeBron has padded his resume even more, I can grow up and say, okay, I can like Kobe, I can like Michael Jordan, and I can like LeBron at the same time. The thing with LeBron, and it's a reason I start to like him, is because 1, I respect him as a father, and he's done so much just awesome things off the court, but 2, he's not those corny athletes you see nowadays. And when I say corny, you know what I'm talking about. Ja Morant on Twitter, he's an absolute cornball. His teammate, Russell Westbrook, he's an absolute cornball. He can go 0 for 20 and he'll still bring up how he won an MVP 25 years ago. Is LeBron still a crybaby sometimes on the court, and does he complain a little too much to the refs? Yes, but it's not as bad as others. Getting back on topic with his son Bronny, I absolutely love how he's handled the recruitment process. And when I say he, let me clarify this, I'm talking about Lebron. He hasn't made it a big deal, and he hasn't really spoken about it too much except for this. It's quite obvious that Bronny will more than likely go to college. I don't understand why he'd go to the G League, and I don't even want to try to understand why he would go overseas, but let's try to break it down. What makes the most logical sense? Oregon is intriguing, and yes, they have the whole Nike deal, but you can throw that one out the picture. In my humble opinion, and you got to go off of facts and evidence, look at LeBron. He always tries to go to his son's games, and he loves being involved. And for some odd reason, you got people trying to use that against LeBron. He'll literally just show up to his son's game, shoot in a warm-up line, and people say, oh, he's trying to take away from Bronny's moment. Like, what? You can't even win in this life. If you don't show up to their games, it's, oh, LeBron is a bad father. But if he shows up, oh, he's trying to take the spotlight away. You literally can't win. That's besides the point. Getting back on topic, I think Duke could be a possibility, but I don't see that happening just because there's so many five-star recruits that go to that school. I think Bronny would have a hard time even getting playing time on Duke, so you can throw that one out the window. But the two schools that make a lot of sense to me is 1, Ohio State, and 2, USC. If I did have to make a top 3 right now, I would say Texas, USC, and Ohio State. And the reason I throw Texas out the window right now is because LeBron, it'd be hard for him to go to Texas no matter where he's playing. Well, now that I think about it, I kind of forgot about this school, UCLA. I guess you could kind of throw them in there with USC. The thing with Ohio State, and the only reason I have them in there is because, LeBron's from Ohio, and that's pretty much it. Maybe if somehow, some way, LeBron potentially finds his way back in Cleveland, that's the only way I could see Bronny also going to Ohio State. For USC and UCLA, let's just look at the obvious. LeBron is playing in LA, he's on the West Coast, and these two schools, they're also on the West Coast. And I already know somebody's about to say, well, Matt, Oregon's on the West Coast, and yeah, but they're in Eugene. I have a hard time coming to terms with that LeBron is going to make the trip up to Eugene, Oregon to watch Bronny play. If LeBron does, and this is a if he does stay in the Lakers, USC or UCLA makes a ton of sense. Location matters. He wants to go to his son's games, and he wants to be in their lives. But also, here's another key element. I think if Duke was on the West Coast, I still don't think Bronny would go to Duke. The reason for that is rather simple. I think LeBron and Bronny, both of them, they want Bronny to go to a school where he don't, he's not necessarily the star player, but he's going to be a starter and get meaningful minutes. You go to Duke, like I already stated, he's not going to be the star player, and he might not even play a lot. But if he does go to a USC, if he does go to a UCLA, he can easily start on one of those teams. I also think Bronny would love it 10 times more if he is on a team like UCLA or USC, because guess what? There's not a ton of pressure. I want you to think about this. If Bronny goes to Duke, do some of y'all understand how much pressure is going to come along with that? I mean, just being Bronny, there's pressure, but playing for Duke, it doubles it. But if he goes to a USC, if he goes to a UCLA, yeah, there's going to be pressure, but not as much. If UCLA or USC loses a basketball game, it doesn't make national news. But every single time Duke loses, oh yeah, it's national headlines. I think both those schools, they make a ton of sense. I am very curious. Let me know your thoughts down below. But road to 1 milli.